I have my head in my hands over this. Actually, I feel sorry for Prime Minister Theresa May. I have no idea what she can come up with tomorrow to make sense of any of this. You think she's trying to have a cake and eat it? Explain.
Well, yes, that was certainly how I would really describe the policies that the government have tried to sort of undertake through all this. Makes absolutely no sense. It's a bit like saying I belong to a golf club, I pay the fee and I get to use the services, and now I'm going to stop paying and I expect to be able to play golf there all the time. It's clear that tomorrow Theresa May is actually not going to come up with lots of plans. The problem has been the Brexiteers have really had no credible plan, and especially for Ireland. If you're going to leave the EU, the likelihood is that there's going to have to be a hard border between the north and the south. I mean, I've driven there lots of times. You drive between Belfast and Dublin, there's nothing there. The people in the south don't want a border, the people in the north don't. The European Commission came up with a plan which was essentially unify Ireland, make the regulations apply to all parts of Ireland, and make the, if you like, the outside where the border comes. The politicians in Britain, the government said that's the EU annexing Ireland. They don't like it, but I guarantee you tomorrow she's not going to come up with a plan, and we're going to have more vacillation, and potentially, probably, her government and her prime ministership look in trouble.
I mean, it's already in trouble, isn't it? She's got a huge credibility issue.
Yes.
And I mean, this is heresy for the DUP, which is effectively propping up her minority government here. So how long has she got, Professor?
Well, I don't really know where she goes. It's an interesting situation. You talked about that. Jeremy Corbyn this week said that the Labour Party supports keeping Ireland in the customs union. And for the first time, what we heard was that the Labour Party talking about business supports the Labour Party, supports the customs union. The Confederation of British Industry and other business organisations want to see that customs union maintained. So we have a situation where businesses are talking against the government. So the government has a clear credibility problem. She's being propped up by the DUP members, but there are people within the Tory party who support, if you like, who are Remainers. So we're seeing fighting within that government, and it's clear that May doesn't have a plan. She doesn't have credibility at all anymore. And I bet you tomorrow there are very few details, if any, and who knows where this is going to go. My suspicion is, and particularly this week, we saw the intervention of John Major, the previous Prime Minister, who said he thinks there should be a second referendum vote because the government's position is just not credible.
What are the odds of that actually happening? How much support would there be for a second referendum vote, Danny?
Yeah, I don't exactly, well, first of all, we don't exactly know what that vote, what would actually be the words of that. So we're not exactly sure. But if you look at where the polling has been since that vote, there's been a lead for Remain of about 2 to 7%. Remember, the polling actually at the time had a lead of 2. So I think the support is dashing, but it's declining. But we should be mindful of what's happening to the economy, which is part of this story. Real wages in the UK have fallen for the 9th month in a row. The unemployment rate ticked up the last month, and growth is much slower than it is in all other parts of Europe. So people are feeling this, if you like, this uncertainty in their pay packets. So I think we're going to see growing resentment, especially when the government doesn't have a plan that it can show that's credible. So my suspicion is there'll be support in the Parliament, support in the House of Lords for something much softer. And I think as each day goes by, we're moving to a position where Brexit will be very soft. We'll see something like Norway or Switzerland or something, and it'll be a very weak Brexit, and business will like that.
Can Jeremy Corbyn capitalise on this in the interim? Because as you pointed out, he said, look, we'll stay in a customs union. He also promised that the UK will be able to negotiate its own trade deals within that, which clearly is not allowed. So he's making kind of promises he can't keep at this point. And to say that he's kind of now the guy that's backed by businesses feels quite ludicrous as well, given some of the things he said. So where do we go?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I was on an advisory panel and I quit because I just didn't think it was what they were saying was market credible. But I mean, a week's a long time in economics. We're seeing. I mean, in a sense, it's the best strategy that Corbyn can have is to say, we're against you, Prime Minister May. You don't have a strategy, and he's gradually moved towards a softer Brexit. Remember, this was a person who was hugely a Eurosceptic forever, and I think what he's seen is the political opportunity. If he's opposed to Brexit, that in itself might end up making him the next Prime Minister, and he's ahead by about 2 points in the polls. So the unthinkable might actually happen. Remember, a year ago, Theresa May was 20 points ahead in the polls, and she lost her majority. So the roller coaster Prime Minister continues, and this gives a big opportunity for the opposition.